Hello, this is Will from JourneyToWallStreet.blogspot.com. I'm here for the trade reviews of April 9th, 2012. Today was a pretty decent day. I had a kind of rough open, but a few good trades later, I was back in the game. I even had time to make some after-hour trades today. It felt really good, like I said in the blog post, but it could have been a lot more. But with that said, let's get to the trades. So one of my first trades was in Hgsi. This was purely a tape trade, and as you know, I'm not very good at my tape trades. It was just a whole bunch of choppiness from the 30s to the 40s, and I was just chopped up in here. I gave it too many tries on too many different occasions, and it just wasn't good. Another trade, pretty similar story, was in Qcom. Initially, I was attracted to this stock because I knew it had earnings yesterday, pretty choppy in the after hours. Then I saw this little 15-minute inside bar here, and I took the short setup. It worked initially, and when it stalled down near the 70s, I actually took some off because it was the measured move of this inside bar. I learned today that to find this measure move, you take the first bar of the inside bar, which is this one here, and you look at the length of it. Then you add that from the top of the confirmation inside bar, and you notice that it gets to there. So because of that, I took some off and I was stopped out of the rest. There was some, I made some more trades. There were some big buyers and stuff here. Like there was maybe like a $200,000 order on the books. So I got kind of roughed up here, but eventually it did trade down. But I was kind of back and forth in this area, so I lost quite a bit on that trade. eBay, probably my best trade today in terms of price movement. I knew eBay was super strong, gapped up off of earnings, and had a really nice run in the after hours yesterday. Really easy setup, 5-minute inside bar. Immediately took some near the highs, and then took some in the 70s here, and that was it. So I missed out on everything else. And I was also in super small. I have 400 shares here, 200 off here, 200 off here. I mean, I should have found a way to get back in, found a way to be more aggressive, because eBay was super strong. I mean, this pullback would have been a pretty nice opportunity to get in. Yeah, I mean, looking at the green candles, they're all pretty bullish. Kind of no reason to get out, but you know, you got to make your trade, and you got to take what you can get. Sometimes you cannot rely on this type of powerful move all the time. I did try to get in on a pullback later. I was waiting for it to break above this candle, somewhere around here. You'll see it better on the 13. So here it started to, I thought it started to form a base, and it created an inside bar and another inside bar. So when this candle was developing, I was just waiting to get long. So I knew the levels. But what turned out is that level played another role later in the day, where it pulled back, stalled at the same level, and continued its way down. I didn't do any trades in the afternoon, so I did pay attention to this, but I didn't take any action. Another trade I was in was MET. So for this trade, it was a 15-minute inside bar. But another thing about this trade, specifically is, yeah, it was below the inside day, and the trigger below the inside day was right there. So if you look at the intraday, you see that the, the, the below the inside day would have been right where this inside bar short setup would happen. So I just said, I gotta learn to trust this at some point. So I took that short setup, and my target was this measure move again. So you take this, and you take this, and you find the length of it, which is about here. Take that thing and you put it below there, and voila, you have your measure move, which I did, took and covered. So I made about what's this, 30 something cents on this trade, and I risked about a little over 14. Not great risk versus reward. I mean, it would have been better if I let it run lower, but you gotta take the measure move. Plus, I only had 100 shares. I just wanted to try this to see if it's a valid type of play. So far, it's okay, but it's only one sample out of however many that happens in a day. Next trade was in Gild. So this was more or less a tape trade, but somewhat of a chart trade as well. My first entry, I was looking at the 5. Well, not really looking at the 5, but you can see my entry better. You see right here was somewhat of a pullback. So that was my kind of chart picture. But if you look on the tape, you can see that there was quite a bit of selling going on, and he kept stepping lower and lower and lower and lower and lower until he finally just dropped. Initially, I was planning to cover right at the pivot low at that point, but it just kind of kept going. So I did cover a little, but I saved some too, and I covered the rest somewhere down here once this pull-in happened. And that was that for the first trade. So I made a pretty decent amount. I wasn't in that much size. I could have probably been in more, since my risk was pretty defined because of that seller on the tape. But I also traded it again later in the afternoon, or later in the day, sorry, not in the afternoon yet. But it was around this area where I noticed that it was some buying off of this lows, and I was just watching the tape to see if there was going to be any selling to bring it back down. So I kind of shorted some at the 23 initially, because I thought I did see some sellers, because I noticed that it will go to 27, do most of its selling on 27, and it did a couple of prints 28, 29, but it didn't really trade above 30, and sort of did that same thing on this bar here. It just printed 30 maybe once, but the rest of the selling was really done at 28, and then suddenly the selling stepped lower and lower. So I covered some at 15 because it kind of stalled there for a little bit. It would go to 15, back to 20, 22s, and kind of hit around here for a while, and eventually it did drop to 52, where I covered the rest. It wasn't really that big of a gain. I did have pretty decent size on this trade, because later on I did give this area a short try too, and that failed. But overall, I thought it was a pretty good tape trade opportunity. At least I was able to see some sort of selling, and I think I covered at a pretty decent price. I covered 52, which was pretty much the way to go at this point. Finally, Riverbed. This was my after-hour trade. So, what I noticed immediately, well, when I started looking, is I saw that 25 was somewhat of a level here. And then I saw that someone was holding the stock at 47. So I thought um, my stop would be above, a little bit above 60, above this range, and I would just short below 47. I just hit the bids. If worst case scenario, if I see any prints above like 60 something, then I'll just kind of cover with whatever amount I can. And moments later, immediately tanked, and I already had my order to cover to cover some at 25 because that was my initial target. So boom, I already made I showed 1,000 shares here, already covered 500 here. Then once I covered, I noticed it boom bounced all the way down to 24, and when it moved so quick, then I don't want it to snap back right away. So I just covered some at 24.40 around here. I covered some on the way up, and I thought, that was great cover. I mean, great short, great opportunity. But if you look at the rest of the day, it just kept going and kept going. So it made the lows of 22.75. So maybe this was way too early, because if you look back here, it's back to that 25 level and didn't even trade. No, didn't even trade above 25, and boom, came back down. So bad hold, good quick trade, but very bad hold. But I made most of my money off of this trade today, and it literally only took 2 minutes. So pretty much started here and ended pretty much right there. Some other stock that I was looking at was VMware. I don't know if you remember, but here's the line. Yesterday I said 114, gotta pay attention to 114. And what happened today above 114? Boom. Next time 114 came, what happened? Straight down. So because of that, I got in long SM114 just as a swing trade, taking some home with me. It didn't really do much towards the end of the day, but I thought I had to trade this level because I was researching this level. So I owed it to myself to actually trade it. So that's that. Quick update on RENN. So kind of did what I was hoping it would do. Kind of did like a pullback and then a break above. So I didn't add to this position or anything, but I'm still holding my May call options. VVUS still pretty much dead money, but at least it closed higher than it did yesterday. So we'll see from there. So tomorrow, the game plan is to follow these earning stocks. So stocks like RVBD, gotta keep my eye on that tomorrow. SNDK, which absolutely got crushed. What, 6 points in after hours? Microsoft. I noticed that 3180 might be a level, so I might take some action on that. Can't really tell here, but it traded up, kind of bounced off of it with a little pullback, and it retested once and it kept going from there. So I want to keep my eye on 3180 tomorrow. COF didn't really move much. Well, it moved the dollar, but not very cleanly. But I would definitely watch this tomorrow. and I think that's about it. So SNDK, Microsoft, and COF are going to be my primary stock. But of course, if any news or anything happens tomorrow morning, I would definitely trade those first. So thank you for listening, and I'll talk to you tomorrow.